Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for the next installment in our new figure showcase series, where we'll take a look at a new figure I'm adding into the collection. And it's usually a newer release, but there are exceptions every now and then. So for today's installment, we're going to be taking a look at the Hot Toys Daredevil 6-scale figure based on his appearance in Marvel's She-Hulk. So, let's talk about Daredevil a little bit. It goes without saying that he has to be one of the best characters in the MCU. And to be honest, he hasn't even really fully been embraced by the MCU yet. And I have to say that I'm glad that Marvel actually decided to keep Charlie Cox in the role, because he killed it. And I think he's potentially the definitive Daredevil at this point. And more importantly, I'm really glad that Marvel reconsidered what honestly was their dumbest idea to date. So if you're not aware, they were filming Daredevil Born Again, the Disney Plus series, which was essentially a reboot of Daredevil that ignored the continuity of the Netflix series. And they even eliminated some of the great characters that had been established. So surprise, people watched it and realized it wasn't good. So they got a showrunner and essentially reshot most of the show. And they reintroduced characters we loved, like Foggy and Karen. They brought back John Barenthal as the Punisher and Wilson Bethel as Bullseye. And they're acknowledging that the Netflix shows are now canon to the MCU. So I think that was a smart move. And I'm sorry to go on such a rant, but that was something that had irritated me. Especially when you have such a great show that people loved pretty universally, which was that Daredevil Netflix show. But Daredevil did make his reappearance in Spider-Man No Way Home, which is an awesome little cameo, which was followed up by a longer appearance in She-Hulk, which, let's be honest, he was definitely the highlight of that series for a lot of us. And then we did see him in Echo for a brief appearance. So he's definitely making his presence felt. So the big thing for She-Hulk, forgoing some of the issues that show had, was the hype around Daredevil's reappearance. And I'm pretty sure we all cheered a bit when the Netflix score started playing at moments. So story-wise, he basically gets a new suit here. And what's different is that we're getting that yellow, that mustard yellow and maroon from the comics. Now, look, I do think the red is the classic, iconic look, but this is great for fans of that alternate look as well. So when we look at everything laid out, you realize it's a fairly bare-bones release. The big addition here, which the original Hot Toys release lacked, is the fully unmasked Matt Murdock sculpt, which we'll get into in a bit. And then it's just the array of hands, the batons, and a few configurations, and the display stand. So not much here. So as normal, let's jump into the accessories, starting with the hands. These are all really well done, and you get the standard fists, a few splayed-out hands for posing, and the hands to hold the batons. Again, fairly uniform and normal things. Now, these are gloved hands, and they have that maroon textured paint app throughout, which looks good, but the highlight for me has to be the mustard yellow armored plates on top of the hands. They're nicely painted with some slight weathering underneath, exposing some hints of the metallic armor. Next up, you get the batons, and these aren't new if you have the previous set. You get the two individual pieces, which can be stored in the carrier on his leg. You get the assembled longer version, and then you get the deployed version with a cable that he uses from time to time. Paint apps are decent, with the maroon theme carrying through to the bodies of the sticks, and also having a nice silver paint app on the connectors. The deployed version, though, I'm not a fan of that cable. Mine actually came loose after a little handling, so it'll need a dab of glue to fully hold it in position, and it just seems annoying to manipulate. It would have been nice if we got it kind of like a pre-posed one, similar to what Hot Toys has done with some of the Batman figures for the grappling hooks. But that's a nitpick there, or it's something I would have liked to have seen. And the final accessory are a pair of red sunglasses with a silver frame for use with the unmasked sculpt. They're fine. Honestly, I do have to say they feel a little bit cheap. We've had other glasses from Hot Toys and other companies that feel a little better. So these are they're super delicate, so proceed with caution, but it's a key accessory for Matt Murdock. So let's get into the figure, and we're going to start with the mask sculpt. From a sculpt perspective, it looks pretty great with a nice paint app that includes that subtle weathering detail exposing the silver metallic surface beneath. There's a ton of detail work on the cowl itself, and you have the distinctive red lenses over the eyes with a nice fabric wrap around the jaw and the neck. I also like the silver accents on the joint lines of the helmet itself that carry down to the side of the neck and down the arms and legs. The lower faceplate looks awesome with great texturing and some fine detail work for the facial hair. It also almost looks like he has a slight smirk, which is another nice touch that I think goes well with the character. Now, unlike the previous version, we do not get swappable faceplates, which is a little bit of a shame, but it is what it is. This actually looks pretty good. The big thing here, if you're looking at this, is are you interested in that yellow look? Because that's the selling point to this guy. Now, let's get into that alternate sculpt, the Matt Murdock. Look, I'm just going to get into it. I think this is a fail from Hot Toys. Paint apps, detail work, all top notch, right? The eyes look extremely realistic, they're well done, but I think the likeness is a total miss. Some figures, if you look at them from the side, can kind of look like the actor or character. This one, there's just something completely off to me. I'm going to compare against a social lawyer in a different video, but I think Hot Toys missed the mark. And if anything, I'm definitely dating myself here, but I don't know if any of you have watched that old high school movie 3 O'Clock High. It's an 80s movie where this kid has to fight a bully, but the sculpt reminds me more of the main character from that movie than Charlie Cox. So I'm really disappointed with this one. Maybe Hot Toys thought, given the lackluster response to the show, no one would care, but I just can't give them a pass on this one. If you're going to give us a face sculpt, give us a good face sculpt. And even with the glasses, it's an improvement, but there's just something off again. Maybe it's the slight open mouth look. I don't know what the look was that they were going for here, but I just don't like it. Without a doubt, the saving grace here is that you do get the helmeted sculpt. There's just no way that I'd intend to use this unmasked version with this figure. But hopefully we see something better when Hot Toys tackles Daredevil Born Again. So this is pretty much all you're going to see of this sculpt in the video again, because I just don't like it. The rest of the figure looks good, or at least I like it. Again, I know this version of Daredevil won't appeal to everyone, but the red on the suit is a darker maroon, so it's almost brownish, and the yellow is found throughout the arms, the lower legs, on the knee guards, and it's almost a metallic material, so there's a little shimmer to it. And it's broken up with the nice silver sections. Very simple, to be honest. A lot of the detail is focused on the arms, with the body being pretty straightforward overall. Articulation too, though, I have to say is pretty amazing, with double jointed elbows, highly flexible leg joints, and the suit is not as restrictive as you might think. Now, there are a few great added details. For example, the leg holster for the batons is nice, although warning, the fit of the batons into the corresponding slots isn't the best. And I think I might need to try to enlarge the opening a little bit because the batons seem to get stuck in there. And then the boots are a nice design as well, with a textured surface and a red trim on the ankles. It's a dark red, so it's barely noticeable, but aesthetically I really like it. Functionality wise though, I have a lot of issues with the figure, particularly those feet. It's great that it displays, right, that it's very articulated, but the biggest issue I have is that Hot Toys didn't go with a split cut boot design. So the boot is actually a pretty flexible rubber-like material that you can manipulate the ankle joint within. Like, you can feel it as a twist, but I found that more often than not the material kind of forced the joint back into position, so the figure has issues standing on its own, even in the simplest of poses, so good luck pushing it. The other thing, and I don't know if it's just my figure, but balancing is a nightmare. And I think it goes back to the feet. Just even in a standing pose with the legs moved forward a little bit, the figure wants to topple. We're not talking extreme dynamic poses again, just simple shifts, so that was frustrating. And again, the baton. I like the options, but I hated the deployed version. I tried to just create an almost coil look on the cable, applying gentle pressure, really gentle. I was careful, and the cable just became unglued from one of the ends. So it's a little annoying, and again, I think had Hot Toys done a pre-pose cable, like they've done with other figures, it would have looked better. I have to revisit this point again and just say that some of the design decisions, right, the boots, the subpar sculpt for the unmasked head, the figure just doesn't seem like it got a lot of love from Hot Toys, and it may just be a low demand piece. Show was definitely not a huge hit, and while people like the character, this look isn't for everyone, so that might be part of it. So that was just a quick look at this release. Am I happy I have him? Yes. I like the aesthetic of the suit, I like the color scheme, and he is actually pretty poseable, so that's a huge plus. Although this is more of a personal preference, but I do like my figures to be able to stand well on their own without a stand. So am I disappointed? Yeah, I'm disappointed in a lot of things, particularly with that unmasked sculpt, because it's just really bad. And while the paint apps and details are solid, it's just not up to par with Hot Toys standards. And this is clearly not anywhere near one of their best figures, at least even of this year alone. So if you're looking to get him, just be aware of those issues, and I would say try to get him for a deal. There are definitely other Daredevils coming our way, and hopefully we'll get some marked improvements, because this one just does leave a little bit to be desired. So I am sorry for the slightly downer review, but it's just a disappointing release overall. Let me know your thoughts though. Let me know if you think I'm being too harsh. And as always, thanks for watching. And if you're enjoying the content, please consider dropping a like, comment, or subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.